Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. It's your favorite mama here, Mama Vanna, and today is a story time where I'm going to tell you guys how I found out I was pregnant. So let's just jump right into the video. To start off the story, let's jump back to January 2014. I was supposed to have my women's exam, and I think it was snowing, or it was like ice on the road or something like that, where I had to cancel my appointment and reschedule. And that happened like 2 or 3 times, I guess. So fast forwarding to February, like the first week of February 2014, I I made my appointment. I went to my OBGYN and to get my women's exam so that I could get my birth control renewed. And while I was there, she did the whole exam and she renewed my birth control. Everything was good to go. It was perfect. So fast forwarding to spring break of 2014, me, my mom, and my brother went on a cruise to Mexico. Everything was great. I was out there. I was partying. I was, having margaritas with my mom. Everything was good. I was eating good. I was living good. But like the last day of the cruise, my stomach did not feel right. So I thought maybe it was because I was eating like new and exotic things and like authentic Mexican food, which I'm used to, like Tex-Mex and things like that. So I thought that was why my stomach wasn't feeling well. So we get back to the States and I go back to my regular scheduled programming. I go back to class like usual, but my stomach still is not feeling right, like at all, guys. Like it didn't feel right. So I made a doctor's appointment, went to my doctor's appointment, and this is a different doctor, by the way. She comes in and she's like, well, Savannah, you have a bladder infection. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't drink much water when we were in Mexico. So I was like, okay, that's cool. What do I need? Just like some water pills or something? Need to drink more water, give me an antibiotic or whatever. And then she's like, and congratulations, you're pregnant. Say what? I said, no, I'm not pregnant. And she was like, yes, our tests are never wrong. And I said, well, it's wrong this time. We need to redo this test. So she was like, yeah, we can redo the test, but I'm pretty sure that you're pregnant. So we go and she's like, well, the sonogram technician isn't here, but I'm pretty good with it. Let's see. So I lay down on the table and she put the like jelly on my belly or whatever. Jelly on my belly. Anyways, so she puts the jelly on my belly and I'm so immature, guys. It's not even funny. And so she turns the machine on and she starts like wiggling around with the little machine, and she's on my left side at first and she's wiggling around and there's nothing there. And I'm like, see, I told you I wasn't pregnant. Your test was wrong. I'm that one person where they were wrong. And she's like, give me a moment. And so she starts moving to the front. There's nothing there. And so she moves to my right side, and there he was, head, arms, like you could see his spine, his little heart beating, his legs, his fingers, his toes, all of that in the sonogram. And then it hit me. I was like, wait, there's a head, there's feet, there's arms, there's a heartbeat. I said, how far along am I? And she said, well, by looking at your sonogram and the heartbeat and the full spine it has developed and all of that, I'd say you're about 5 months pregnant. Excuse me? She said, yeah, you're about 5 months. I said, that's not right. So my first thought was, I was just in here like a month ago. Like, I kid you not. Check my records. I was just in here. And she was looking and she was like, yeah, you were. I said, and I'm getting mad. Like I'm getting really mad because how was this not caught a month ago? I'm 5 months pregnant. How is this not caught when I'm 3.5, 4 months? And she was like, I don't know. I said, I came in here to get my birth control renewed, and she renewed it. Like, she renewed it. I just keep spewing this all over again. I'm feeling so many different emotions. I'm mad. I'm sad. I'm confused. I'm shocked. I'm all of these things at one time because I literally was not expecting this at all. And so she was like, I'm so sorry. I don't know. We'll figure it out. And this, that, and the third. And then after all of this, after it starts settling in that I'm 5 months pregnant, I'm like, oh my God, is my baby okay? Like, she was like, the technician isn't here, so I can't do these things, but we'll get you an appointment immediately. That way that the technician can come and make sure that everything is okay. And so they give me all the prenatal pills that they had because I hadn't been taking them. And I schedule my next appointment, and I walk out, and I'm on the phone, and I call my boyfriend, and he didn't answer because they had just started spring football practice that same day. So he didn't answer, and I leave this like dramatic voicemail up. Babe, I'm pregnant. Call me back as soon as you can. Click. And then I call my best friend, and she picks up the phone, and I'm crying, and she's like, oh my gosh, Savannah, do you know the sex of the baby? And I said, I didn't even think to ask. So I hang up the phone, I run back in there, and I'm like, I need to ask the doctor a question. I said, did you know the sex of my baby? And she was like, no, I didn't see that, but that's something that the technician could tell you. And I'm like, why isn't the technician here? So that was that. I left the doctor's appointment, and I go back to my apartment, and I just act like everything is cool. Me and my roommates, who were like really good close friends, we were sitting there and we were watching like a Pretty Little Liars marathon or something like that. And it's later in the day, and Darius is out of practice, and my phone has died, and my charger, I didn't have one. And so my phone is dead, and next thing I know, he's like banging on the door. It's like, doop, 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 doop. And he answers the door. He's like, are you okay? Is everything okay? Come on, let's talk about it. Da, da, da. And I'm like, hey, how are you? How was football practice? And he is like, what's going on? Like, are you crazy? Like, he literally was looking at me like I had lost my ever-loving mind. But I hadn't told my roommates or anything like that, so I didn't want them to know at that time. So I was just acting like everything was all cool, calm and collected, or whatever. And I was like, yeah, we're just watching Pretty Little Liars right now. I'll come talk to you when the show is over. And he was like, okay, I guess. So the show had ended, and I go over to his apartment, and we're talking about it, and I just start bawling, crying, and it was a lot of tears, and it was a lot of like reassurance from him. He was like, everything's gonna be okay. I'm gonna be by your side the whole time, this, that, and the third. And then he was like, well, I'm finna go tell my parents. I was like, not right now, please, not today. Today has just been too much. Not today. Let's tell them tomorrow or another day. He was like, what's the point? It's still going to be the same thing tomorrow, Savannah. So whether I tell them today or tomorrow, there's no difference. So he went to his hometown, and he told his parents, and I went back to my place, and I just could not even I couldn't even imagine telling my parents at that moment. So the next day I was like, you know what? He's right. I just need to go ahead and tell them. I was headed to my internship for a sports team in the local area, and it was my first day, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be right. I'm not going to be focused if I don't tell them. So I called my mom, and I told her. I called my dad, and I told him. And then I called my grandma, and I told her. And that was that. But going back to when I said that I didn't know anything like that, I asked my doctor, like, is this common? Does this happen a lot? I don't understand, because I was, having my menstrual cycle. So that's why I never thought to think that I was pregnant. And she was like, it does happen. She said she even had a patient once who came in with severe abdominal pain, and our patient was actually going into labor. She said it does happen a lot with tall, slender women. I don't remember the exact reasons why it happens to tall, slender women, but it just does, and it happened to me. So my advice would be to just make sure that you will, one, always using protection if you are sexually active. Two, making sure that you stay on your birth control consistently. And three, just know your body. She said that what I was having, it wasn't necessarily a menstrual cycle, but it did seem like one. And so that's why I didn't know. She said, honestly, there was no way of you knowing. And I didn't have any morning sickness. There was nothing different about my body that would have indicated to me that I was pregnant. I mean, for goodness sake, a week before I found out, I was in Mexico on a beach in a 2-piece bikini. Like, come on, like, I wouldn't have known. And that was one of the things that really hurt me the most, was that I didn't know, because I thought that I had put my baby in jeopardy, and he wasn't going to be healthy or anything like that. But luckily, he came out perfect, and he's such an angel. Sometimes he's an angel. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's how I found out I was pregnant. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.